think it's quite clear that the GK2 is the absolute best resin printer out there right now, and since my initial review of it blew up, more people have had hands-on and have echoed that this is far more than just a simple 10-inch 8K printer with a heater. It's the summation of multiple, simple but meaningful design choices making the process of resin printing easier so that you can spend more time with the things you've printed rather than battling the environment and the printer itself. But what if you wanted more? What could be better than a GK2? Well, that's easy. It's two GK2s. But what's better than that? Two GK2s with Wi-Fi. And what's better than that? Well, I'm honestly not sure. So hi, I'm Ross and this is Fohammer Videos. So, as you may or may not know, Uniformation have also released a 12K upgrade kit. This is the second printer I've upgraded from 8K to 12, and you can see the results of my previous upgrade on my mighty 8K upgrade video. With this one, and thanks to Uniformation's clever design choices they made from the outset, this process is much easier and it's a more straightforward process to do the swap over. There's just a little bit more unscrewing to do this time. So let's have a quick look through it. Before you start upgrading anything, I recommend that you update the printer with the new 12K firmware, as we'll need this during the testing. You can find the files and a walkthrough video on Uniformation's website. To upgrade the hardware, start by opening up the lid and removing your VAT and build plate. Then just remove 6 screws on the inside to take off the whole lid and top cover. Take out 2 more screws in the top of the printer along with 4 in the back and 4 on the bottom, and then you can remove the whole outer chassis. Then you remove 4 screws from your old screen, flip it forward and gently flip up the plastic latch for the ribbon cable. And this one little bit here is one of the clever things Uniformation do for those who ever need screen replacements, because whether you're replacing the 8K screen or a 12K screen in future, it is as simple as undoing those last 4 screws and taking off the whole LCD module. Most printers require a large disassembly just to do this much. After you take out the LCD, there's then 4 more screws to remove on top. 2 of them have just been revealed now that you've took out the screen, and then take out 4 more screws on the bottom of the printer. And then from this point just slide out the front housing forward and towards you. This gives you access to the FFC cable on the motherboard. Just like you did with the LCD, carefully flip this to unclip it and now you can get your 12K kit ready. Make sure you read which end of the supplied cable is for the motherboard inside, labelled MB, and the end for the LCD, well, I'll let you guess that label for yourselves. Honestly though, if you struggle to work it out from this video alone, this may not be the upgrade you want to attempt. Now this is actually the trickiest part of the upgrade, and it's feeding the cable behind the motherboard and looping it up and over and into the port. But if you just find something soft to prise it towards you and carefully guide it before flicking down the latch, you'll be fine. Just be aware that the brass pins on the cable face towards the board when you connect it. Now the other end feeds up through the original hole in the top chassis, and that connects to the LCD. And once again, the brass connectors face towards the cable on the bottom of the new LCD panel. Now make sure at this point, do not screw it back together just yet. The new 12K screen is more resistant to UV light than the old 8K models, so you need to increase the power of the UV array. On the back of the printer, on its right side, you'll find a small board with a tiny screw on it. This is a potentiometer which allows us to adjust the power of the lights. Increase it a little by turning it around 30 degrees clockwise. That's about 1/10 of a turn. It really isn't that much. Now the next thing we need to do is to test this, so plug in the printer and turn it on, but make sure you don't touch any of the components on the left side of the printer as you look at it from the back. This is actually the transformer, and whilst you're relatively protected, touching it or any of the circuit board components can potentially damage them or even you. This is one of the reasons I use gloves for most of the install. Now what's really cool about this kit, and I'll find it useful in future videos when I want to test it, is that Uniformation have included a UV light meter. So long as you've done the firmware update already, you can expose the whole screen using the VAT cleaning function for 30 seconds at a time. So light up the screen and move this UV meter around until it's clear on the display that no area is lower than 3.5 milliwatts and no area is higher than 4.5 milliwatts. If you got it wrong, as I did for the first time, just adjust the potentiometer up or down again until you can get it in range. Just don't do these adjustments with the printer powered on. Again, this is to prevent damage or injury. But that was it. That was the entire upgrade process, done and dusted in no time at all. Now on the PC side of things, you will need to change the settings in the slicer for the new display area and resolution, but then, after you've done that, then it's good to go. In order to put it back together, just reverse the steps you went through, and I hope you kept your screws in the right order to remind you which ones go where. It will make it far easier than trying to remember which one goes in which place when you're putting it all back together. But if you get stuck, you can watch my video or Uniformation's video. Now, I brought up the comparison earlier with Frozen's 8K to 12K upgrade, and the difference really is that there's less unscrewing to do on that one, but you do need to replace several components, including the whole motherboard, another board, and essentially snap off some cables. With this one, it's just the LCD and a cable that needs replacing, but you do need to take apart the machine a lot more to do it. Personally, I found this one far easier in the long run thanks to its much simpler steps. And with all that done and out of the way, I now have a 12K GK2. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, there is more to this video than just a 12K upgrade. That's right, there's now a Wi-Fi upgrade too. And by that I mean Wi-Fi upgrade, but in the script I've wrote Wi-Fi upgrade and didn't correct it. Now thankfully the Wi-Fi upgrade installation is much easier. This is just one component that you plug into the USB port on the back of the printer. There is still a software side that needs updating for this to work, but try as I might, I could not get the included installation CD to work. Instead, once again, you need a firmware update, and you can find this on their website by going to Support, User Manuals, GK2, Wi-Fi module. And this has all the files you need, along with an instructional video on how to perform this update on either the 8K or the 12K versions of the GK2. Just make sure that you either update the 8K firmware or replace it with the 12K firmware, assuming you've done that upgrade, before you run this update, because this update is more of a patch to those. Now, as for the Wi-Fi functionality you get, well, once this is plugged in and the firmware's upgraded, you'll use the UI to connect it to your home network, and you also need to set or confirm the login credentials before you're provided with the printer's IP address. But with these digits, you can then go over to your PC and create a network location. Again, don't worry, all of the steps for this are clearly shown in the video guide from Uniformation. But essentially, so long as your GK2 is switched on, you should now have remote access to the internal storage on the device. So you can send slice files here or even save them directly to it from your PC. But you will still need to go to the printer in order to start a print. But you know what? $20 for that convenience, well worth it. And Uniformation have now started including this Wi-Fi upgrade with every new printer purchase, so you don't need to buy this separately if you haven't already got your GK2. Now, as for the 12K upgrade results and features, well, I alluded to this in the intro, and I expect many people will believe I've artificially dragged this out to the end to make you watch more video. But the truth is, I'm actually avoiding sharing the result because, well, look, it's a very smart thing that Uniformation did by calling this the Explorer's Kit rather than the 12K Upgrade Kit. It really exists for those people who want to try it or those who have a very specific reason to use this newer type of display on their incredibly robust and equally awesome printer, the GK2, which is still very easily and with an 8K screen the best all-round 3D printer out there. So let's have a look at a couple of things which are a little bit head-scratchy. One is the size of the new screen. The original 8K screen on this printer is 10.3 inches, and the 12K screen is 10. Now that doesn't seem like much at all, but basically the print area has changed from 228 by 128 millimeters down to 219 by 123. So you actually lose 9 millimeters on the x-axis and 5 on the y. That's pretty much a centimeter and half a centimeter. Again, depending what you're printing, this may not even matter. But I've been printing several copies of this ogre from Loot Studios lately, and this will be for a friend of mine, Marco Frazzoni, and he's going to use that in his live miniature painting classes. On the 12K screen area, I can only fit 7 of these models, maybe 8 at a push. On the old 8K screen, I can fit 10. Now you can do this test yourself for free by creating the new 12K printer dimensions in any slicer app and see how well your models fit. But anyway, screen size, it's smaller, that was the first thing. The second is print quality. And as I talk, I'd like to show you these awesome Ravage Star models that I got exclusive print access to, and these wargame miniatures will only be available in PVC, and you can check out the Ravage Star campaign online now, assuming you watched this video when it first went live. These models are printed in both 8K and 12K, and I'm sure you'll agree, they have tons of details. I also printed one of them at 75mm scale too, just to show off what this printer is like with larger models. And FYI, this guy's name is Dave. So as I talk through this next bit, you get to guess which is 8K and which is 12K. Keep it to yourself, I don't want it down in the comments to artificially inflate how popular this video is. Leave me comments if you want to help me encourage the video get views. But I'm not going to make you do it just to artificially do it. Anyway, I'm going to reveal which is which shortly, so keep it to yourself, just try and guess which one's 8K and which one's a 12K. Now, I've said this in every video about 12K, but if you only know this printer, I'll say it again. This 12K is not 12K. 12K is a made-up marketing term used for any LCD panel with an X resolution of approximately 12,000 pixels. With a resolution of 11520 pixels on the x-axis, which is essentially 6 times HD X resolution of 1920, that's a mouthful, this is classed as 12K. But on the y-axis, it only has 5120 pixels, where it should have 6480, where this is also 6 times HD Y resolution of 1080. But yeah, it doesn't, because all of these 12K screens use rectangular pixels. Now, this wouldn't really matter so much on LCD televisions, but on 3D printers where those pixels are rendered in 3-dimensional goop and become voxels, and, well, we're comparing these printer resolutions to previous generations and other models, it does matter, slightly. And this is why people use a different metric when comparing 3D printers, and that's the size of the individual pixels on the LCD. Here, like every other 12K printer using this same screen, the pixels on the x-axis are 19 microns, yay! But the pixels on the y-axis are only 24. So whilst there is a 10 micron improvement on the printer's x-axis from the 29 microns of the 8K screen, there's only a 5 micron difference on the y-axis, so it's nothing. And I very much doubt you intend to print every model facing forwards and never look at its sides. Now, this isn't a complaint about Uniformation in any way, you know I love them. It's a complaint about 12K as an absolute BS metric that I'm sick of everyone spouting. And by everyone I mean the brands, not you guys watching. And I know, I've made this point numerous times, and many of my frequent viewers are sick of it. Come on guys, I'm sick of saying it. But we actually have 14K printers coming from some brands where once again the y-axis is identical to these 12K screens. So where's the upgrade? And also this time it leads on to my next point. It used to be easy to compare these printers from the pixel size alone, but now they've gotten so small it's clear that the light source plays a huge part too. It's the reason why DLP printers are thought of in such high regard despite low resolutions, because the light source is so sharp. Now here, I've heard from Uniformation directly that the UV penetration of these 12K screens is not as good as it was with the old 8K screens, and when coupled with the matrix LED array like the one in the GKTwo, even with the increased power by adjusting the potentiometer, you still get more inconsistent uniformity across the display. What this means, for example, is that where supports may be solid in some areas of the display, they could be weaker in other areas, leading to failures. Based on the earlier measured range of 3.5 to 4.5 milliwatts, that measurement is almost a 28% difference. But let's be conservative and say it's only 20%, and also because that's easier math for me, that's still a difference in exposure times of 20% too. So where some areas on screen may expose perfectly at 1.5 seconds, other areas could need 1.8 seconds. So the solution is to just overexpose everything for more guaranteed printing success. Now in my case, with a pretty balanced exposure, you'll find that the prints shown here on the left are all from the 8K screen. The prints on the right are all 12K. Did you guess it right? Now you can pop it down in the comments. At first, it's honestly difficult to see much of a difference between them at all. Had I not kept them separate through filming, I'd have easily mixed them up with my naked eye. Even under a macro lens, I can't really see a direct pixel to pixel difference on any of the edges. But remember, we're only talking about a 5 to 10 micron difference between screens. It's the more you look, the more you start to see that the 12K screen prints have slightly smoother surfaces, and all of these models have been printed with no anti-aliasing whatsoever. So when it comes to this 12K screen swap, I'm not going to say upgrade, it's not the details of the print that get any noticeable improvement, not at all, but the surfaces of the models that end up smoother, and this helps to eradicate voxel lines. If you drop the printing height down to 20 microns from the 30 I printed at, it'll help with layer lines too, at the cost of some print speed. Now layer lines and voxel lines are different, but that's a whole other video. But also when looking at these 12K prints, you can also see that the details have been softened too, and this is due to the light source of the GK2 marginally bloating the exposure of each layer, exacerbated by the slight overexposure needed in order to ensure success of your printed supports. So you may be at this point of the video wondering what the benefit of these 12K screens is over the 8K versions, and well, it's some marginal surface smoothness. But that's it, and that's no different between any 8K to 12K upgrade if I'm honest. As you've seen from many of my earlier 12K videos, pretty much every brand is now using this same screen. Some have implemented it in such a way to make it sharper, others, like this, have made it softer. Now for me, I print miniatures. I prefer a sharper screen, and I smooth out that sharpness with controlled anti-aliasing and image blur. So for my exact use case, this isn't my preferred choice. But again, that's me. My personal wants and needs aren't the correct choice. For you, you may want softer prints out of the box for any multitude of reasons, in which case, here you go, grab it now. But it really is down to personal taste, guys, and what you want from a printer. I'm not here to tell you I'm right and you're wrong, I'm just here to show you these things so you can pick what's right for your personal use case. And regardless of what you choose, I'm happy because, well, I've now got 2 GK2 printers, and I'm going to be doing more videos about them soon, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and you don't miss it. I want to say thanks to watching, and a huge thanks to our channel members who are up on screen now. They get access to these videos sooner, they also get priority comment replies and exclusive videos too. If you want to join them, please hit that button down below the video to join now. Also, while you're hitting buttons, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please leave a comment below this video in order to boost the algorithm and more people can be aware of it. Until next time, there comes a day when you're going to look around and realise happiness is where you are. That one's from Moana. Fohammer out.